All right, we're just going to start by doing kind of a football shape. I decided football instead of oval because there's kind of a big football game happening in my neck of the woods today. And we're a little bit higher than the football shape. We're going to do a little crescent moon. Oh, there's my kitty cat. She decided to join us today. And then a little higher than that crescent moon, another little crescent moon. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. A little higher than the football shape, a crescent moon. And you can see it ends a little higher at the bottom as well. And then a little higher than that crescent shape, another crescent moon shape. And we're just going to do 5 segments for this pumpkin. And you can see I left some white space in between each of the segments. And just drawing in a stem here, you can do a little short, stubby one. You can do kind of a curly, wonky one like this, whatever you'd like. And now we're going to come in with some water, which my water actually still has some orange in it because I did some practice before, and either, I don't remember if I left color on my brush or if my water was just colored from the previous painting. So either way, we have a little bit of color on the brush, which actually is nice because it helps you see where you're laying the water in. And we're putting quite a bit of water in here, kind of more so than previous videos. We still don't want pooling. We don't want, like if you were to tip your page, you don't want water kind of sloshing from side to side. But we want it pretty wet so that it receives the color really well and we can move color around and blend it pretty effortlessly. So go ahead and fill all of your segments in. We're going to keep the stem dry here for this portion of it. And if you just wait just a second here, you start to see, there you go, kind of the shine of the paper. It's pretty wet, but not water moving around. And usually you have to work really fast with wet on wet, but look, she's so pretty.
Hi, Willow girl. You're so pretty, kitty. Hello. We love you.
Okay, back to the pumpkin. Um, I actually talked to her more than I just showed you there, so I had to edit that out. And my paper dried, so I'm laying more water in there. So it's about the way it was before I started talking to her. Okay, now we're going to come in with my reddish orange mixture that I just mixed the 2 colors together until I got the color that I wanted. You can use any colors you want. You know, you've seen blue pumpkins and those light green mossy pumpkins. Oh, they're so pretty. But I'm kind of doing a little more traditional and starting with just kind of dabbing in and gently moving down the pumpkin and moving it the color farther down on the right side than I did over on the left side, because the right side is going to be the darker side of our pumpkin. I'm imagining the light coming from the upper left, so the right side of the pumpkin is going to be a little darker. And now we're coming in with brown. I'm using a burnt umber, but you just use whatever brown that you have. And we're letting that blend with the orange, just starting from the bottom and gently just dabbing it up and swishing it up there, letting it blend in. We're doing brown on the bottom because naturally our pumpkin is going to have darker shadows on the bottom when the light is coming from that upper left. And so just go ahead and drop that in there on each of those segments and letting it, again, just blend with that orange. And you can see I'm just dabbing it in there. A lot of this project is going to be moving colors, blending them until you like what you see. And we're just going to have darker on the bottom there and on the right side, like I said. So continuing with the burnt umber and just letting it do its thing in that water. I love the wet on wet technique. It's just so fun. I ended up having a little bit too much water up on that upper right portion, so I tapped my brush onto the paper towel and then lifted some of that water out of there. And now I'm just going to add some more color to it because, again, we want that to be a little bit darker when all is said and done today. And now I'm doing something that's super unnecessary, but I did it, so I'm just showing it to you, and I'm going to speed it up so it's kind of boring. But I'm kind of crisping up the edges of each of those segments, which I don't need to do because I end up filling in most of the white anyway, but I did it, and so I'm just showing it to you. and that's okay. We're gonna add some more color over here on the right-hand side. I just grabbed, I honestly don't know if that's burnt sienna or if that's my reddish orange color. Again, just play with colors until you like them. And a lot of times people don't have burnt sienna. If you're borrowing your kids' watercolors for this, you've got red and orange. So just go ahead and mix those together, maybe add a little brown to it if you like a more rustic or rusty look to it. And yeah, we're just adding that color in there so that we have a darker right side than we do on the left side. And always just letting that brown and that orange mix together and just kind of smoothing things out. We don't, I try not to have hard lines in here. And this is where I'm going to come in and just fill in the majority of the white gaps that that I had in the beginning. Um, I know some people leave those in, and that's okay. But to me, I just want to fill them in. And I'm kind of connecting the lines at the bottom as well, which I end up kind of regretting, but I work through it and it's all good. I don't know if you've noticed watching my videos, but I'm not like a super polished artist that plans everything out and practices 10 or 20 times until I have it so perfect so that when it's time to do a video, I can just show you, look, I can do this in 3 seconds and it's perfect. I just want to show you. We all make mistakes, if you can even call it that. We do things and we're like, that's not really what I was going for. And you just work through it. The vast majority of the time we can just work through it. Anyway, I ended up covering up all the little white spots at the bottom, like on the underside of the pumpkin, because that's just going to be in the shadows. So that's why I went ahead and did that. And you can see I left just a few of the white gaps for highlight purposes. And this is the point where I thought, I'm going to change the shape there, maybe make it more into an oval shape. So I kind of worked with it there a little bit, and then I change it again a little bit later here. But just working on that because I didn't like how flat and straight it looked at the bottom. Perfectly fine to leave it flat and straight because a lot of pumpkins are flat and straight. All right, that layer is dry, so now I'm coming in with some more color. I believe this is burnt sienna. I'm sorry, you guys. I can't remember burnt sienna or the reddish orange. Again, kind of the same. It's going to have a very similar effect. So you just use the colors that you love and you just keep working it until you enjoy what you see. And I'm just going to do that right side darker and the underside of the pumpkin darker where the shadows are just naturally going to be. And I don't like how you can see my brush strokes and kind of like the hard lines here. And so I'm going to speed this up, but you guys, again, most of this is just working around with the colors. I am adding a little bit darker color up where the stem meets the pumpkin because you're going to have some natural shadowing there. But just work this, move the colors around, pull the colors kind of down and up until you don't have those hard lines anymore. And just keep working it. And see, I love it. I think it looks great right like that. And I'm going to now go in and kind of try to add little kind of bumps, if you will, at the bottom of the pumpkin, kind of indicating where those segments are in the pumpkin that we drew in at the beginning. And you can see that looks a little transparent because the rest of the pumpkin has a few layers of color, and that's just one layer. So that's why I'm adding more color in there, because if you just do one layer, it is just going to be transparent. So I'm adding more color to that and just kind of working with that until I like the looks, adding some darker color in here, whether that's burnt sienna or my reddish orange color. You could add brown. Just keep working that until you like it. But I just think it's starting to look so cute. Pull some of that color up into there for just different color variation that you're going to find in every pumpkin, especially just kind of depending where the light is. But also when you go to the pumpkin patch, you're going to have dirt on the pumpkins. You're going to have varying colors. Sometimes you still have some green in the pumpkin. Coming up here with some brown, adding that to where the stem meets the pumpkin to just indicate where those shadows are going to be. And we'll be doing our stem here in a little bit. And this is dry theoretically, but you'll see it's not actually dry. I'm going to go ahead and put some water into our stem that we drew in at the beginning. And you'll see the orange starts bleeding up into the stem because it wasn't actually dry. And that's totally okay. So I just grabbed some green and just took that straight from my watercolor pan and putting that green in there, bringing it down to the pumpkin, being careful now that I know my pumpkin isn't totally dry. You would think, oh, there's the kitty. She's standing up and blocking our light, but you can still see what's happening. You would think I'd let my pumpkin dry, but I just kept going. So I ended up having too much water, so I tapped my brush onto the paper towel and just came in and lifted some of that water out of the stem. And now I'm grabbing some dark brown burnt umber and tapping that into the stem. And I'm leaving some of that green showing just because you just see that on a lot of stems. There's greens, there's browns, some of them have, that nice cream color in there. And I'm also going to widen the base of the stem a little bit because that just looks better to me and kind of connects the stem to the pumpkin a little better in my opinion. We're not going for realism as usual, but it's just that looks pleasing to me. I just think she's so charming. And you could stop there, but I'm going in with my Micron size 2 black pen, and I'm just going to start outlining. I'm going to outline starting with my stem, and I'm going to move down the left side of the pumpkin. And you can see I'm staying pretty close to the pumpkin here, but I love to leave white space as well. But coming down and kind of accentuating those little bumps I added at some point in the painting. And just going up that right side. I will be adding a lot more scratchy lines to that right side here in a little bit. But for now, I'm just going around that and I'm just defining that stem a little bit more as well, adding some detail there. And then also putting some lines where the stem meets the pumpkin, just adding definition and interest and texture. And now I'm coming down where my pencil lines were. I think if you watch any watercolor videos, they often tell you to erase your lines or at least erase them um, enough so you can't see them when you're done painting. But I tend to like them and I like to accentuate them. I could see my lines under my paint. And so I'm just going over them with black. And now I'm going into my stem and adding some texture there just with scratchy lines. Going underneath there a little bit more. And here's where I'm going to really add some scratchy lines to that right side because I just love that wonky, wonderful, wobbly look. Some more texture here up where the stem meets the pumpkin. And again, a great stopping point if you so choose. But I'm coming in with my jelly roll number 10 or size 10, and I'm just going to add some highlights up here in the stem to start with. And then I'm just going to add highlights on the pumpkin where I think the light might be hitting the pumpkin. And also just putting it in spots where I think it just adds interest. I love the pen detail. I think it adds whimsy and character, and it just makes me smile when I see line and wash paintings. I think they're so much fun. And I'm just going to bring this closer so you can see the effect that the pen detail has. Isn't that just beautiful? It's just so charming if I can say that about my own artwork, and I think I can, because I'd say it about yours or anybody else's that has just those fun, whimsical pen details and kind of a rustic look. I do want to add a shadow underneath. You could leave this like this. You could, glue this onto a greeting card and send it to somebody, or write a Bible verse or an encouraging word and just hand this to somebody right like this. You don't even have to put it in an envelope. I just think it's so sweet. What a nice little fall gesture. All right, so go ahead and put a shadow in here if you so choose. I'm just using a purple and blue combination and just kind of laying a shadow in there. I probably could have stopped like right here, but I just decided to keep going. I don't know, I couldn't see it very well, so I decided to add some more color and just keep dabbing it in there and even more color. So, and if you end up doing this and you're like, why did I put so much color in there? You can just tap your brush onto your paper towel and then back into the paint and it will lift it right up. But I just left it, I think it's fun, and just get right up there under that pumpkin where the shadow's going to be and move the color around until you like what you see. And there you have it. There's our pumpkin with a shadow. It just kind of grounds it a little bit and makes it look like it's sitting on whatever, a table or the front step or whatever it might be. And don't forget to sign your artwork. it took me a minute to decide where to sign because I was thinking about signing kind of like up the pumpkin, kind of a sideways signature. But then I just decided to come right under the shadow and just scratch my name right there. So wherever you'd like to sign it. All right. I hope you give this a try and that you just have so much fun with it. And if you like this and you'd like to see more very doable watercolor paintings, I hope you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post my next video. Talk to you next time.